Good morning. Welcome to Heritage Hills. As we get started this morning, we've got our March items all on the calendar, as that's right around the corner. The 9th, we do have that spring cleaning, so be aware of that. Try to be available to help out as we all use the building. March 10th, we got our child dedication services. And then 23rd, 24th, of course, missions conference, Thursday night, Friday night, and then Saturday, we got our traditional international meal, etc. And then, of course, Sunday. So definitely looking forward to that, and make sure you're planning accordingly. All right. Gene, will you go ahead and lead us in a word of prayer this morning for our service?
Father, thank you for this day to come together and worship you with the services and the teaching, and ask that you bless them, that you are glorified through everything. In Jesus' name.
Let's go and stand as we sing. Our God reigns. How lovely on the mountains are the feet of them who bring good news. Good news, announcing peace, proclaiming news of happiness. Our God reigns. 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 He had no stately form. He had no majesty that we should be drawn to him. He was despised, and we took no account of him. Yet now he reigns with the Most High. Our God reigns. Our God reigns. Our God reigns. Our God reigns. Out from the tomb he came with grace and majesty. He is alive. He is alive. God loves us so. See here his hands, his feet, his side. Yes, we know he is alive. Our God reigns. Our God reigns. Our God reigns. Our God reigns. Good singing. And over to Be Exalted, O God. We'll sing this through twice. I will give thanks to thee, O Lord, among the people. I will sing praises to thee among the nations. For thy steadfast love is great to the heavens, and thy faithfulness to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let thy glory be over all the earth. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let thy glory be over all the earth. I will give thanks to thee, O Lord, among the people. I will sing praises to thee among the nations. For thy steadfast love is great to the heavens, and thy faithfulness to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let thy glory be over all the earth. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let thy glory be over all the earth. Remain standing for a Spanish song.
Hola, buenos días. Busca primero el reino de Dios y su justicia perfecta, y lo demás añadido será. Aleluya, aleluya. No solo de pan el hombre vivirá, sino de cada palabra que sale de la boca de Dios. Aleluya, aleluya. Pedid, pedid y se os dará. Buscad y hallaréis. Llamad, llamad y la puerta se abrirá. Aleluya, aleluya. Pueden sentarse.
We'll be saying our verses twice this morning in each language, and then we will hear from the volunteers. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
Juan 3:16. Porque de tal manera amó Dios al mundo, que ha dado a su Hijo unigénito, para que todo aquel que en él cree no se pierda, mas tenga vida eterna. Juan 3:16. Porque de tal manera amó Dios al mundo, que ha dado a su Hijo unigénito, para que todo aquel que en él cree no se pierda, mas tenga vida eterna.
João 3,16. Porque Deus amou ao mundo de tal maneira que deu seu Filho unigênito, para que todo o que nele crê não pereça, mas tenha a vida eterna. One more time. João 3,16. Porque Deus amou ao mundo de tal maneira que deu seu Filho unigênito, para que todo o que nele crê não pereça, mas tenha a vida eterna.
Is there anyone who's ready to say it this morning? Yes, I am. Okay, go for it. Miss Mercy can go first. I didn't know if you're all doing it together. I don't know. All right, Miss Mercy. Good job.
Juan 3:16, porque de tal manera amó a Dios al mundo que ha dado a su Hijo unigénito, para que todo aquel que en él cree no se pierda, mas tenga vida eterna.
Very good. Is there anyone else who's ready to say it this morning? All right. If not, Miss Claudia, would you come down here from the translation booth? And you come here. Okay. Well, I'd like more here. She's so nervous.
No.
No. Sorry. Yeah, no, you're not in trouble. So I want to take this time to say thank you to the Sanchez's for the soup night the other night. And I told Papa, I was like, it was really cool. If you didn't catch it, what happened, any of you who have been to the Dominican, all right, Wilkin will make like the soncocho for you. And so I was kind of fixing my bowl, going to sit down. I see Daryl coming through on the phone, and I asked him, I said, are you on the phone with Wilkin? And he said, yeah. And so that's like Acts 2:42 kind of being lived out, because we all fellowshiped together, and we broke bread, and we all kind of talked, and then immediately the sacrifice they made of spending their afternoon here cooking for us, we were like, oh man, that's a good Sunday night. Like, how many people woke up thinking about someone they met in the DR? Or how many other people thought of someone from another culture or something that happened, and that morning they were on their heart in prayer, all right? So that was like an awesome thing. We're saying thank you as a church. We got you some breakfast goodies in there so you guys can sit inside as a family one morning and hang out, and then we got you a gift card so you can go out and eat without your children.
Thank you.
And hang out with and have some fun. And also, you know, she does the translation every day. That's like a huge ministry that all of us that speak English don't even realize is such a vital thing to our Spanish speakers. So also thank you for that. So thank you.
All right today? For an old man, you ain't looking half bad. Thank you. I'm actually talking to Jacob, but you know. I mean, that white beard and everything, he's just like. You know Santa Claus is of the devil? All right. We're going to have to do an exorcism. All right, roll.
Joshua 24:16-20. And the people answered and said, God forbid that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods. For the Lord our God, He it is that brought us up and our fathers out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage, and which did those great signs in our sight, and preserved us in all the way wherein we went, and among all the people from whom we passed. And the Lord drave out from before us all the people, even the Amorites which dwelt in the land. Therefore we will also serve the Lord, for He is our God. And Joshua said unto the people, you cannot serve the Lord, for He is a holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions or your sins. If you forsake the Lord and serve strange gods, then He will turn and do hurt and consume you after that you have done good.
Okay, so what precipitated this?
Joshua's challenge the people that they have to choose whether they're going to serve, whether the gods their fathers served, whether the gods
Okay, so it would be Joshua 24, 14 and 15, right? Joshua 24, 14 and 15. Oh, we've got to get these mics in here fixed so that we don't have to do this, because I don't like repeating what people say. It is like, oh my word. Okay, I don't even remember what he said. Yeah, Joshua's charged the people. Joshua, you know. So anyway, when we get into this thing, Joshua 24, 14, and 15, that, people know that verse really well. In fact, as you'll see it framed a lot of places, right? People have it on their doors. They have it on their bumper stickers and stuff. It annoys me a lot of times because the people that have it framed don't actually serve the Lord. Okay? It's kind of like if you went to Brazil, Brazilians are nominally Catholics. So if you walk in the house of a person who is a Catholic and is actually making a show of being Catholic, they'll have a big old Bible. Okay, and that Bible will be about as big as this thing, and I'll have it on a stand. So when you come in, there'll be a table there, and there'll be this Bible on it. Usually opened up to the Psalms somewhere. Okay? And it doesn't mean that they believe the Bible. It doesn't mean that they do what's in the Bible. It's like a lucky charm. It's like something that you have that is a good luck charm for you, and it helps you get through life. That's what it's like for them. And that's what these verses are like for people who are Baptists. They don't live this. They don't do this stuff. And I'm talking even about a lot of you. We preach and we preach and we preach and we preach, and you just don't put the stuff into action. You don't do what we say to do. Okay? Then you wonder why your life doesn't go right. How come you have a lack of peace and joy in your life, but you refuse to do what you're told to do? Right? You just won't do it. And so we get there and say, stop fearing. But you won't. Stop worrying. But you won't. Stop being angry. But you won't. Stop ascribing evil to other people. But you won't. Okay? But we like to have these little verses and we'll put them up. As for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord. Are you serving the Lord? Huh? And so we get here, and he's told these people, you need to figure out what you're going to do, because there's an entire generation that's dead in the desert, right? Why are they dead in the desert? They didn't believe. They refused to serve God. They refused to believe God. So they're dead in the desert. Okay? Now this new generation's come in, and God's conquered the land, and basically they've gotten... they've come in, they don't have the whole thing conquered, but they got, basically, they're the run. They can go wherever they want to go within the thing. They've got little pockets of people around. And Joshua's older, and so he's giving them a last charge. He says, you need to figure out who you're going to serve. And they go, okay, we got this. We're going to serve the Lord. All right? So that's what they're saying here. And they're saying, God forbid that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods. For the Lord our God, he is that brought us up and our fathers out of Egypt. Now, if you know the book of Amos, what did they bring up out of Egypt with them? Gods. They brought gods with them out of Egypt. So the whole time that they're coming up out of Egypt, they have gods that they brought up out of the land of Egypt, and they're with them in their tents. And you wonder, with these people, how many of them still had gods in their tents? And then they say, you know, he's the one that did everything for us. Now, and then he says, and among all these people, and the Lord drave out from before us, and so they're saying all the right things. And then Joshua says to them, you cannot serve the Lord, for he is a holy God. What does he mean? Okay, yeah, you can't do what you want to do is what he's actually saying. He's not saying you can't worship God. What he's saying is you can't do it your way. You can't do this thing. You can't worship God your way. You have to do it his way. Now, that's the hardest thing that I think that in ministry there is to do, which is get a bunch of people in a church and then try to teach them that they can't do this thing their own way. Because you're talking to them, right? You're talking to them. You're using the language they understand, right? But they don't get it. And how do you know they don't get it? By what they do and what they don't do. By what they do and what they don't do. That's how you know. So you're looking at this thing and he's saying, you can't do this thing your own way. For he's holy God, and he's a jealous God, and he won't forgive your transgressions nor your sins. But I thought he does. So what's he mean by he won't forgive?
You've already heard against him, and you won't do what he's asking you to do.
Okay, if you deliberately choose and say, I'm going to worship him, and then you turn right around and go worship a God, you're going to be up the creek.
Your mic's off, can you turn it on real quick?
It's not off. I turned it on. It's on.
It's showing it's on.
Yeah.
Is it? They notice when you step away for a second. Yeah, it's green.
Yep, I'm not colorblind. Somebody get me a glass of water, please. All right. It wouldn't hurt. So if you forsake the Lord and serve strange gods, then he will turn and do you hurt and consume you after that he hath done you good. In other words, it's kind of what I try to tell you in American. He's not your, thank you. He's not your grandpa, and he's not going to be okay with you doing things your way. Okay? And this is what I try to get across to y'all. I've learned this lesson the hard way myself, and so I'm trying to teach you, but some of you don't want to listen. So what's going to happen?
Not going to have peace in your life.
Well, it's more than that. What does he say is going to happen? You're going to get hurt. Right? And I try to tell people, you're going to get hurt. And they look at you like, what are you talking about? Okay? And there's not anything for you to do but what? Yep, just sit back and wait until things go to hell in a handbasket. And when things go to hell in a handbasket and they come to you, then you're going to look at them and say, Dad blame told you. I told you. And you wouldn't listen to me. So now you're beyond the point of no return. Now you paid the ban. Now it's going to hurt the rest of your life. Because whatever he does to you, it's going to be the rest of your life. You're going to be paying for it. Okay, because he's not your grandpa. And it's not going to be okay. And he will not allow you to do it your way. You come his way or no way. He will not allow you to do it your way. Okay? And it's the most important thing that you can understand as a Christian. You cannot do this thing your way. He will not allow it to happen. Okay? And so basically as a pastor, the only thing I can do is tell you that. Ball's in your court. Do it your way. Knock yourself out. Because I got to the point, I used to worry about it. I used to stay awake trying to explain to people till 2 o'clock in the morning, and I finally figured out. When you're dealing with a rebel, what does a rebel do?
Do it their way.
They do. What else do they do?
They also go against what they're told.
They go against what they're told. And if they do that, what do they have to do? They have to attack you. That's what they're going to do every single time. Okay? And so once that happens, conversation's over. Okay, I've learned that lesson. I don't stay awake till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning with my kids sleeping in the car, trying to explain to rebels why they're going to get hurt. Just let it go. Nothing else you can do. Okay? Nothing else to do.
Joshua's basically telling them to make sure that they mean what they say before they make a vow to the Lord, because it's not your grandpa who will not forgive deliberate sin.
All right? This is why I don't do a lot of altar calls anymore, right? Because what happens with Baptists? Yeah, they'll be right down here on their knees. As soon as they hear you preach, and they're like, oh, I got to get down there. And then Monday morning, they're right back to what they usually do. And so then that's going to get them hurt.
Joshua 24, 21 through 23.
Okay, so when you make this choice, who's the witness? Who's the witness? You are. So if you don't do what you said, what's going to happen? God's going to bring your own words back up to you again. That's what's going to happen. Okay?
Now therefore put away, said he, the strange gods which are among you, and incline your heart unto the Lord God of Israel.
Now why would he have to tell them to put away the gods?
Still there.
Because they're still there. Because they're still there. Okay, they were there during Moses' time, is what it should say, and they're there under Joshua's time also.
The people said unto Joshua, the Lord our God will we serve, and his voice will we obey. So Joshua made covenant with them that day, and set them a statute and an ordinance in Shechem. And Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God, and took a great stone and set it up there under an oak, which was by the sanctuary of the Lord. And Joshua said unto all the people, behold, this stone shall be a witness unto us, for it hath heard all the words of the Lord which he spake unto us. It shall be therefore a witness unto you, lest ye deny your God.
So, how is a stone a witness?
A memorial, a visual reminder of something happened there.
It's a visual reminder of something that you did. Now let me ask you a question. Do you need a visual reminder? The answer is yes. Why? And we forget what we promised God, don't we? It's really easy. We forget what we promised God. But does he forget? And the answer is no, he does not. No, he does not. All right, so when we go back to this thing, where is it that the sanctuary is? Shechem. What's at Shechem? It's where they buried the bones of Joseph. Why? He did, but you had the whole land. Why'd they go to Shechem? What? He did build an altar there, but he built one at Hebron, and he built one at Bethel, and he built one at different places. So why'd they go to Shechem? And we have to go back to when Jacob's dying and he's giving the inheritance to his sons. He gives Joseph a double inheritance of the land that he took out of the hand of the Amorites and the land that he bought from Shechem, the prince of Shechem. He bought land there. And so that land's there. And in John 4, when the Samaritan woman comes, she said, "Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this wealth?" A well that had been there over 2,000 years. So it's land that belonged to Joseph. That's where they buried Joseph. Okay?
Joshua 24:28. So Joshua let the people depart, every man unto his inheritance.
Okay, so he had his people all together. He's done talking to them, and he lets them what? Let them go home.
Joshua 24:29. It came to pass after these things, that Joshua, the son of Nun, servant of the Lord, died, leaving 100
All right. So you got the passing, or what's happened to him. What was said was what is normal. A generation comes, a generation goes.
Joshua 23:14. And behold, this day I am going the way of all the earth, and ye know in all your hearts and in all your souls that not one thing hath failed of all the good things which the Lord your God spake concerning you. All are come to pass unto you, and not one thing hath failed thereof.
Okay, I'm going the way of what? This is what happens. If you're human, you're going to die. So does that generation keep their word? Yes. They served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders that overlived Joshua, that lived longer than Joshua. Okay? So they did.
Judges 2:7-8. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord that he did for Israel. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old.
Judges 1:1. Now after the death of Joshua it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, Who shall go up before us against the Canaanites first to fight against them?
Okay, because Joshua doesn't leave a successor, does he? I wonder why he's not worried about it. Because remember, Moses was worried about his successor, right? Why is Joshua not worried about his successor?
Because the people are serving the Lord, and one will come up without choosing.
Maybe, but what does God say actually when they ask who's going up in this verse? Judah. Okay? So he says a tribe is going to be the leader.
Judges 2:6-8. And when Joshua had let the people go, the children of Israel went every man into his inheritance to possess the land. And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord that he did for Israel. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old.
So why does it quote the same thing that's in the book of Joshua? This is an exact quote. Why is it stated twice?
Separate book.
Huh?
It's a separate book.
Well, it is a separate book, but every separate book doesn't always quote the same thing.
No, there's showing continuity between this.
Okay, continuity between the books. You got this thing, Joshua died, and immediately you got Judges.
Judges 2:21. I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died.
So in Judges 2, we already got the people are doing what? What are they going to do? They went back to serving other gods. Next generation. And so God says to them through this guy, I'm not going to do anything else for you. I'm done.
Judges 2:23. Therefore the Lord left those nations without driving them out hastily, neither delivered he them into the hand of Joshua.
Okay, so did he deliver a lot of stuff into the hand of Joshua? Yes. Why did he deliver everything? And the answer is, because he wanted to teach those that didn't know about war, and he didn't want the land to be empty, because what would happen? The animals would increase, the wild animals, the dangerous ones. Okay? Okay, so when you get into this, the old Negro spiritual, going to lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, right? What did they understand the river to be? What did they understand the Jordan to be? Death. Is that what the Jordan symbolizes in Scripture? No. Did they lay down their sword and shield? No. What did they do? They had to fight. It wasn't rest. God said there's rest for another day. He sent them into the land, but they had to fight. Okay? And we need to understand that. We need to understand that you don't get to take the Scriptures and turn them into what you want them to be. Nor do you get to take the Scriptures, particularly this is what African Americans did in this country. They took the Scriptures and they twisted them to make themselves the children of Israel, because the children of Israel were slaves, so were the black people. So they tried to make them identify themselves with the children of Israel. It doesn't work that way. Can't do that. Okay? But that's what they did. It's what they're still doing, by the way. All right. Now, our next book is going to be the book of Esther. And there's a timeline for you. Can most of you see that? All right. So you look at that timeline a little bit, and then I'm getting ready to go on. Okay, so we start off with the book of Esther. The first thing that we find out when we read the book is that the name of God is not mentioned one time. And this really caused a problem historically. Why? Yeah, is it part at the Council of Janina? They try to figure out, is this really part of the Scriptures, or is this one of those just Hebrew books that was written, kind of like Maccabees? Okay? Because God isn't mentioned at all. Secondly, the two main characters, who are Mordecai and Esther, are neither one godly, okay? Because they don't go back to Israel when the edict by Cyrus is given. They stay in the land of Persia, okay?
H.A. Ironside said, first, in this book, we have Israel and what was really a self-chosen path. For opportunity had been given to return to the land of their fathers, there to rebuild the city of God. But they preferred to remain where they were rather than endure the hardship of immigrating to Canaan.
Okay, so Ironside from back in the last century, he says, okay, what I've always known to be true. I mean, people hold Esther to be this great heroine of the Scriptures, and not really. Neither her nor Mordecai do what they're supposed to do. They're not. Okay? Now, look at this.
Second, the great subject of Esther is evidently the secret policy
Okay, so, all right, so Ironside says that the second thing about it is that there is a particular providence. What does he mean by that?
God working in this particular way,
What particular way?
watching over the nation of Israel even as
Okay, watching over the nation of Israel even though they are spread to the four corners of the world. Okay, that's what he's saying. So if you know the book of Esther, if you know the 10 chapters, is there the providence of God brought out in the book? Yes. Okay? Even though the name of God is not written, there are obvious that the writer is telling you that God is taking care of the Jewish people even while they're captives in strange lands. Okay, so what is he saying? What is Whitcomb saying? Whitcomb doesn't even think they're saved. He doesn't even think that Mordecai and Esther are saved people. They're religious people, but they're not saved. Ironside thinks they might be saved, but they are out of God's will. Okay? And so we have to lay that stage for you before we go into the book of Esther, because if we don't, what happens?
Being misunderstood.
Big time misunderstanding, because things are going to happen in this book that if we try to follow Esther's example or Mordecai's example, what's going to happen? We're going to fail big time, okay, in the morality department. All right? Well, let's go back and read this. Ahasuerus. Okay, so he's talking about Ahasuerus, who reigned from India to Ethiopia over 127 provinces. Okay, so he's talking about the Persian Empire at its largest. Okay, so Xerxes the First, or Ahasuerus as the Bible calls him, okay? Okay, so the Jews could have gone back anytime they wanted, right? Under any of these rulers. But Mordecai and Esther don't go back.
Upon the death of his father, Ahasuerus became king and ruled over a vast kingdom of 127 provinces that stretched from India to Ethiopia. His throne was in Shushan, Hebrew for the Greek word Susha, the winter residence of Persian kings.
Okay? So this was the winter residence. They'd had a winter and a summer because it got so hot there. Okay, so they had a winter residence.
King Ahasuerus, the son of Darius Hystaspes, the husband of Queen Esther, and recorded in the book of Esther, also known as
invaded Greece with an army, it is said, of more than 2 million soldiers, only 5,000 of whom returned with him. Leonidas, with his famous 300, arrested his progress at the pass of Thermopylae, and then he was defeated disastrously by Themistocles at Salamis. It was after his return from this invasion that Esther was chosen as his queen.
Okay, so if you go into the book, you come in Vashti's first, and then you have this big feast that he gave where he's getting ready for this invasion that he does. He goes into this thing, and he's stopped by the Spartans, okay? But he's also stopped by a sea battle, okay, that happened at Salamis, where he lost the entire fleet. Basically, it all sank. Okay, and so when this happened, he comes back again, and it says that he, felt bad about Vashti, and so his guy said, well, let's pick a queen. And so that's how Esther gets it.
Esther 1:2. And in those days, when King Ahasuerus sat on the throne, the people were persecuting.
Okay, so we have a map here, and it kind of shows you. So if you know about geography, and you see Egypt over there, and that's Africa, and then you see the bridge that goes up, that's Israel. You got Syria up there. You have Syria, where Iraq is today, and then you have Persia down there, where Iran is today. Okay. All right. So you have that whole what's that thing called right there? Well, it is the Middle East, but there's a particular name for that. The Fertile Crescent. And what makes it the Fertile Crescent? The rivers. Everything else in between and around it is desert. Okay? So civilizations have been there from the beginning of time. So if you study evolution, the evolutionary process, where did they say that man started? Africa. Where does the Bible say man started? Which was where? Well, at least those two rivers and two other ones. Okay? Which one might be the Nile? Okay? So when you look at it that way, you got this whole area here, and where man actually started. So he started actually in the Middle East. Now people have gone and they have discovered skeletons in England, ancient skeletons. And when they went and did the DNA, guess where the people originated from? The Middle East. And they were not blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. Okay? They did have blue eyes, but they had dark hair and darker skin, and they came from the Middle East. Okay? And they died thousands of years ago and were buried in caves in England and have been there ever since. Okay? And they went across to England when there was no English Channel. The English Channel was a piece of land that went from France all the way to England, which was called Daggerland, right in the middle, underneath the water. It's under the water today. Okay? And so when you know all this stuff and you're looking at this thing, God started civilizations there, and they spread and went throughout all the world.
Nehemiah 1:1. The words of Nehemiah, the son of Hakaliah, and it came to pass in the month of Chislev in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan palace.
Okay? He's in the same place. Different king, but the same place.
Esther 1:3-5. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even an 180 days.
So how many days?
180.
180 days. This party lasted 180 days.
king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace. There is the king explaining the state of Greece.
Okay, he's brought all of his people from these 127 provinces, and he's getting all of the leaders together, and he's planning this invasion of Greece. Now, let me ask you a question. If you went to invade Greece with 2 million men, would you expect to win? You should win. You should win. Just like when the Spanish Armada went to England, they should have won. And when the Nazis got ready to invade England, they should have won. But in all 3 cases, they don't win. And the reason they don't win is because God decreed that they would not win. Because he is a God of history. He's in charge of history. Nothing happens that he doesn't allow to happen. Okay? And he's in charge of every little aspect. By the way, the Chinese also invaded Japan. Guess what happened to their fleet? Got destroyed in a big battle, but more storm, and it's sunk, and they've discovered it now. They found all this fleet, because this was in the 1400s, and now they found the remains of those fleet are still there. Okay? So there's a lot of times when you have a superior force and you think you've got this thing and you don't have it. By the way, that's where they got the word kamikaze, divine wind, because that wind came and blew up the Chinese fleet. And so from that time on, the Japanese believed in the divine wind. Didn't help much in World War II, but...
Where were white, green, and blue teams passing the doors of the light purple and silver rings of marble? Beds were of gold and silver, on a table of red, blue, white, black, and marble.
So he's describing the palace for you. So is it opulent? Oh yeah. Okay? No cost is too much for these kings of Persia, for their palaces, and etc. Okay, so what does that mean according to the state of the king? Rich. So the better and the Persians were known for these feasts, the better your feast was, the more it showed how much you had.
Esther 1:8, and the drinking was according to the law. None did compel, for so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house, that they should do according to every man's pleasure.
Okay, so he is saying, you don't have to drink. Now, why would he do that?
Because some of their religions don't allow them.
Yeah, some of their religions don't allow them to drink, but I was reading Daniel 1 today, and Daniel didn't want to drink Nebuchadnezzar's wine. And the reason was because it's been offered to other gods. And so there are a lot of people, not just, just us, but there are other religions who don't drink. And so he's bringing all these people together trying to get unification. He doesn't want everybody to get mad because he's forcing them to drink something they don't want to drink. All right, let's stop there. Pick up next week. All right, let's go ahead and pray. How did it go last week, Nathan?
It went well. I was able to meet not the pastor, but another person who was there in the area who seems to have a pretty good idea of. They were pretty crap. It went well. I missed the pastor again, but there was an older man there, a retired pastor, who just does pulpit supply now, and I was able to have a good conversation with him. He took my number and information and was excited about the prospect of what was going on and everything. They're Southern Baptist,
All right, who wants to pray? All right, Josh, all right, you all two pray. Somebody take the mics over there.
We thank you for this opportunity to look into your word and to understand history and how you have worked in it for your honor and for our good. And we are also thankful that you're working through Nathan to help get this church going. And I pray, Father, that you continue to lead him toward people that can help with that and would be excited to see your work continue and to grow in High Point. I pray that you bless this meeting tonight, and that you would bring just the right people along that can work with him and bring this to pass, that you might be honored with another church. In Jesus' name.
Dear Father in heaven, thank you for the day that you gave in this day. Pray that as Nathan and Meredith go to all these churches, Lord, and present their willingness to start a church in that area, Lord, that that the people that meet, that they be open-minded, and Lord, that that the connection that they make will have good standings, Lord, and Lord, just as we pray that that this is happening, that that is a good thing, and that it be in your will. And we also thank you for the message that you gave us today in Esther, and visiting it up in Joshua, Lord. Thank you for that, and pray this all in His name. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome this morning. As we get going, just a couple of different announcements. First off, don't forget the spring cleaning that's coming up March 9th. Jason says that he plans to get that work schedule out as early as this afternoon possibly, so go ahead and be watching your email to go ahead and find out where you're going to be assigned to help out with that spring cleaning. Then on March 10th, don't forget we're going to be having a child dedication service. So again, if you've had a child within the last couple of years and you would like to be a parent that is dedicated to raising that child in a godly manner, then you can talk to one of the pastors that you'd like to be involved in that. And then we still have our missions conference coming up. March 20th through the 24th, we're looking forward to having Dr. Ben Sinclair there, who is the new director of Baptist World Missions. So definitely excited about meeting him and having him bring the word to us. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Pastor Chris for just a couple of housekeeping notes.
All right, so we have two just quick things. First, we've been, a while back, I think it was actually around the summertime or so, we had to merge our first and second and third through fifth grade classes, particularly during Sunday school and Sunday afternoon due to teachers. And we were able to sort it out to where we could get back that class again. So first and second will again be a separate class starting in Sunday school next Sunday. Okay, so the afternoon they will still be together during the missionary story time. They're obviously still going to be together during children's choir, but as far as Sunday school goes, they will be in separate classrooms. So first and second will be back in the classroom and the fellowship hall. So Heritage Kids people will have to sort out some things this week with, I know sometimes you guys put the tables in there, so we'll sort out getting that classroom situated for next Sunday. But just wanted to make sure all the parents, can you back me off a little? I feel like I'm ringing. Am I ringing? Anyways, so parents of first and second graders, just make sure that next Sunday you take your kids to the fellowship hall in the classroom that's right there on the right with the stairwell that goes up to the attic. That's where they'll be. The second thing is that we wanted to ask the parents to work on attentiveness to their children during our fellowship times and even a little bit in general between services. So this past Sunday, there were numerous things that were going on, and some kids had gotten to doing things and some inappropriate stuff and whatever, and we want to make sure that we try to alleviate it. The big cause was that there were a lot of kids who were running around unsupervised on this whole side of the building. Okay, and so there were numerous issues that kind of happened that we had to sort through and work with, and a lot of things that were unnecessary and really did not need to take place and could have been prevented had we had done a little bit better job keeping track of our kids. Obviously, we enjoy the fact that we have a lot of fellowship at this church, that our kids are all friends with one another, and we don't want to discourage spending time and hanging out with our friends and our kids growing in their relationships with one another. But we need to make sure as parents that we do a good job and not just say, oh, well, there goes my kid around. So we really want to make sure on our fellowship evenings that you guys stay with your kids, you keep an eye on your kids, you know what they're doing and getting up to. We're also going to help by just shutting off that whole side of the building so that it's not a problem, because otherwise, you know, kids get into toys, parents have to go and coordinate picking stuff up. A lot of times people are spending extra time picking up the toys because, surprise, kids make messes and they don't just inherently love to clean up their messes. I know that's all a surprise to you and your kids never do that at home. But it happens here at church. So the bathrooms will be open, but we're going to keep the rest of that hallway closed off, the pastor's office, all the kids' classrooms, all those toys, so that kids can't get away unsupervised down that side. Now, obviously, it's going to be warmer, so when we have our fellowships, we'll be having children outside, and so it shouldn't be as big of a deal. It's just more been because it's been colder, it's dark at night on Sunday nights when we've had these fellowships that everyone kind of stays inside. But even when we go back outside, be sure to keep an eye on your children. And if you have someone else taking care of your kid, make sure that you say, hey, would you mind watching my child and keeping an eye on my child while I go take care of this or do that? And that way, a lot of times, I know sometimes it's easy to be like, oh, my children's near so-and-so. They'll keep an eye on him and they won't let him. But without actually having a conversation, it's easy for them to not realize and pay attention of what your expectations are. And this is why children are not allowed to mess around with stuff, okay? That was all planned. It was an example. That's why we had water in it, okay? This is not new carpet, so it's fine. The carpet's getting replaced, okay? Thank you, Andrew. Just wanted to set up a really exciting thing for Pastor Steve up here to have to dodge some glass as well. Anyways, like I said, it was all planned. You know, don't worry about it. We got this. Do what? Yeah, no worries.
It is water.
Yeah.
That should be the only thing, while he's speaking, that is brought into this, I'll call it sanctuary, into here, because we have brand new carpet. And we all, if you bring water, that is one thing, but you should never bring anything else in here.
And that, you know, that's all carpet tile, so we can replace that. We can't replace this. Easy. What's that? No. Nope. But anyways, so aside from this distraction, see the reason, here's a speaking point for you, okay? Here's the point. You guys will remember these housekeeping details so much more than you've ever remembered anything else. You know why? Because that was the day Pastor Chris threw a glass on the ground. And you're going to say, and I remember what he was talking about when he did that. So it's all for helping you guys remember the things that were said. But anyways, as long as we can all help make sure that we take care of it. So parents, even if you see other kids getting off and doing something, be vigilant. Go talk to the kids. Make sure you find out what's going on. Don't just overlook it, because it is very easy to happen. Okay? And meanwhile, the water in the outlet is totally fine. It's normal. It's no problem.
Pastor Chris also wanted to take the opportunity to show good teamwork in a husband-wife relationship. So, I am going to ask Malachi, if you can stand all the way over here, please. Like over on this side, where there's absolutely no broken glass. Over here. Yeah. Because it's your birthday in a couple of days, huh? All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wish Malachi. And I already got Antonella. Sorry I got you so early. Huh? They got me Wednesday. So you missed it, but they got me Wednesday. Bob Thompson did a wonderful job of hauling me in front of everybody. But we're going to wish you a happy birthday, so we can actually say happy birthday, dear Malachi. Malachi. Okay. Yes. I got her last Sunday because I was just being super proactive and can't keep track of dates, obviously. So, happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday, dear Malachi. Happy birthday to you. Not many more years of the box for him, huh? And he's Uncle Daryl's problem. Sorry. All right, let me see. Marcus Ray, if I could get you to lead us in a word of prayer for our service today. Let's go ahead and all stand as we sing 153 for the musicians. He is able to deliver thee. 'Tis the grandest theme through the ages rung, 'tis the grandest theme for a mortal tongue, 'tis the grandest theme that the world e'er sung. Our God is able to deliver thee, He is able to deliver thee, He is able to deliver thee. Though by sin oppressed, go to Him for rest. Our God is able to deliver thee. 'Tis the grandest theme in the earth or main, 'tis the grandest theme for a mortal strain, 'tis the grandest theme, tell the world again. Our God is able to deliver thee, He is able to deliver thee, He is able to deliver thee. Though by sin oppressed, go to Him for rest. Our God is able to deliver thee. 'Tis the grandest theme, let the tidings roll to the guilty heart, to the sinful soul. Look to God in faith, He will make thee whole. Our God is able to deliver thee, He is able to deliver thee, He is able to deliver thee. Though by sin oppressed, go to Him for rest. Our God is able to deliver thee. Our second song this morning is number 546 for the musicians. 546, I gave my life for thee. I gave my life for thee, my precious blood I shed, that thou mightst ransom me and quicken from the dead. I gave my life for thee, what hast thou given for me? I gave my life for thee, what hast thou given for me? My Father's house of light, my glory circled throne, I left for earthly night and wandering sad and lone. I left it all for thee, hast thou left aught for me? I left it all for thee, hast thou left aught for me? I suffered much for thee, more than thy tongue can tell, of bitterest agony to rescue thee from hell. I've borne it all for thee, what hast thou borne for me? I've borne it all for thee, what hast thou borne for me? And I have brought to thee, down from my home above, salvation full and free, my pardon and my love. I bring rich gifts to thee, what hast thou brought to me? I bring rich gifts to thee, what hast thou brought to me? You may be seated. At this time, the 2s and 3s can come on up to the front. Okay, so we start with the 2s and 3s. And as they're coming, now 3s and 4s, you guys can, 4s and 5s, come on, follow them down. 4s and 5s as well. Oh, Ashley's got something for you. And 1st through 5th, go ahead and
There's Dan's song. All right, let's stand up. Let's stand up. We're going to say, way the wind is high. All right. You guys are like have all that. They wake up in the morning, they're told what they should do. They're wrapping up the sayings, what's good as you do. But the Bible says they'll come to rough and ruin. So listen well and watch your words. 'Cause the way of the wicked is hard. 'Cause the way of the wicked is hard. 'Cause the way of the wicked is hard. They know they've got a job to do, they'd rather sleep or play. They want something so quickly, they haven't got all day. But the Bible says they'll come to rough and ruin. So do your best and wait on God. 'Cause the way of the wicked is hard. 'Cause the way of the wicked is hard. 'Cause the way of the wicked is hard. They really think they are the best, no one's as good as them. They got that friends to rock with, who never will condemn. But the Bible says they'll come to rough and ruin. So humble yourselves and find good friends. 'Cause the way of the wicked is hard. 'Cause the way of the wicked is hard. 'Cause the way of the wicked is hard. That was a good idea to move over. Okay. So, yes, Mr. Andrew was about to make a statement last time when he was like, man, it's like Mr. Charlie's theme song. And like that is totally Mr. Charlie's theme song when I get ready to do a children's sermon. All right. And I don't know, it needs to tie in. That song ties into everything. So let's talk about being wicked. So we had the Valentine's banquet, and then me and Bex and Mason bring all these groceries into the church fellowship hall. And when I'm bringing them in there, lo and behold, laying on the counter is a ring, a wedding ring, a black wedding ring. And I was like, oh man, someone left their ring in here. And I picked it up and put it on because I only wear my wedding ring to church, so you guys know I'm married. Anyway, so I put it on. I said, oh wow, it fits. And Mason goes, that's Donnie's ring. And I said, ooh, I think you're right. It is Donnie's ring. I can feel Courtney's magic controlling me. To which I replied, I think I'm going to steal it. And Rebecca goes, you can't steal Uncle Donnie's wedding ring. To which I said, why not? And she said, because it's Uncle Donnie. That's why. To be continued. Because your reputation matters. So all of you, including Rebecca, knew you can't steal from Donnie because it's Donnie. But what does that mean? It's because of who Donnie is. Right? Is Donnie loud and outspoken and always up here doing crazy children's sermon stuff? No, he's not. But Donnie has a strong reputation amongst the children to where they said, you can't steal from Uncle Donnie. And so your reputation matters. Proverbs 20, verse 11, shaky on my verse. Dr. Billy said memorize your verses for children's sermons. It says that even a child is known by their doings, whether their way be pure. Right? So even you guys can be known by your reputations. Now, curveball, Benaiah is off somewhere with his grandma, probably eating ice cream or something. So we're going to have to pick a replacement Benaiah. Sure. Wyatt, you're now Benaiah. Come here. Okay. So when we talk about reputation, this is tricky. We're doing way too many Bible verses for a children's sermon. All right? Shh, shh, shh. You're not allowed to talk. I'm talking. That's the job. Okay? You're standing here being Benaiah. He didn't say anything. All right? So
When you deal with Benaiah, it's one of my most interesting verses in the Bible. I got a whole big kid's sermon on it. But it says that Benaiah killed 2 lion-like men of Moab. All right? They were like champions. He killed 2 of them from Moab. The same way that David killed the champion of the Philistines, a guy named Goliath. Benaiah killed 2 champions of Moab. Then it says, on a day when it was snowy. Can we walk around real good in the snow? No, we struggle in the snow because we're humans and we got silly feet, right? On a day when it was snowy, Benaiah went down in a pit and killed a lion. It gives no explanation as to why he did this. But he did it. And then it says, an Egyptian, a goodly man, probably also like a champion, right? He went down and killed this Egyptian. Here you go, buddy. Here's your Benaiah part. The Egyptian had a spear, and it says that Benaiah went down with a club and plucked the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed the Egyptian with his own spear. You're done, Benaiah. Why is that included in the Bible? Because it spoke of Benaiah's reputation. But the reason it's included is because it spoke greatly of someone else's reputation. Because it includes this at the end of King David's life, that it shares this story about Benaiah, right? And he did these things that seem unexplainable, but he saw another person do things that seemed unexplainable. He saw David kill a giant when everyone else was afraid to. And then Benaiah, because he saw what David did, he said, man, God can do something through me, just like he did something through David. But the thing about David killing that giant is he already knew God could use him to kill something that was way out of his class. Because as a child, David had killed a bear and a lion all by himself, out somewhere protecting his father's sheep. And so the reputation that David built as a child, when he learned that God could use him, that compounded when he showed the nation that God could use him. And then it affected a guy named Benaiah later, to where at the end it just said, man, he did these crazy things, right? Because someone else showed him he could do them. And I say all that to say, you can't steal from your Uncle Donnie. And all of y'all's reputation matters. And all of you will be known by your doings, just like your Uncle Donnie is. You don't have to be out there killing a lion, right? Because he made an impression on all of you about being consistent and being there for you guys. So it's not always the flash that matters. It's the people in the back. Those are the people to kind of be like, right? All free to go.
Hola, buenos días. ¿Pueden levantarse, por favor? No hay cual Jesús, otro fiel amigo. No lo hay, no lo hay. Otro que pueda salvar las almas. No lo hay, no lo hay. Nuestras luchas conoce todas y solo Él nos sostendrá. No hay cual Jesús, otro fiel amigo. No lo hay, no lo hay. No hay un instante que nos olvide. No lo hay, no lo hay. No hay noche oscura que no nos cuide. No lo hay, no lo hay. Nuestras luchas conoce todas y solo Él nos sostendrá. No hay otro fiel amigo. No lo hay, no lo hay. Cuando es infiel el pastor divino, ni una vez, ni una vez. Cuando rechaza a los pecadores, ni una vez, ni una vez. nuestras luchas conoce todas y solo Él nos sostendrá. No hay cual Jesús, otro fiel amigo, no lo hay, no lo hay. Hay otra dádiva como Cristo, no la hay, no la hay. Ha prometido el estar conmigo hasta el fin, hasta el fin. Nuestras luchas conoce todas y solo Él nos sostendrá. No hay cual Jesús, otro fiel amigo, no lo hay, no lo hay. Pueden sentarse.
Blessed be your name in the land that is plentiful, where the streams of abundance flow. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name when I'm found in the desert place, though I walk through the wilderness. Blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Blessed be your name when the sun's shining down on me, when the world's all as it should be. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name on the road marked with suffering, though there's pain in the offering. Blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name.
So we got Crisco and Pentecostal on us. Yeah.
This one's plastic.
All right. I didn't knock it down. everybody. Are y'all happy? Gabe, you happy? Yeah? You want to come up here so everybody can see you? You're okay? How do you know you're okay? Because what? You don't really want to go up here, that makes you okay? What about you, Harmony? You okay? You want to come up here? I don't want to give some of y'all an opportunity. Who? I don't think Basin wants to come up here. All right, let's start. Acts 7:38. Continue Stephen's message.
This is Steve, in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to them in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers received the lively oracles give to us.
Okay, so why does it say the church? Okay, literally from the Greek, ecclesia, it means what? Called out ones. So this group was called out of Egypt. That's why it translated it church. And in the New Testament, it translates the mob at Ephesus also as an ecclesia. Okay? So you need to understand that. There's different, depends on context, but the majority of the time in the New Testament, when that word is used, what does it mean? The local church, about 114 times. Okay? So it's always about context, and I tell you that. It's context, context, context. You cannot just take verses and say, well, this verse belongs to me. This is my, people have this thing, especially back in the day. This is my life verse. Okay? So how many of you have life verses? Okay. So one day at a Bible college, they were sending the kids out, and they were doing this crazy stuff where you send them to different people and ask different things. So one group came to me and asked me what my favorite verse was, and I gave them a verse. And the next group came and I gave them another verse. And a little bit later, they come to me and they go, Pastor Steve, the next day, or Monday, you told one of us that it was your favorite. It's my favorite verse in that situation. This is my favorite verse in this situation. I don't have one favorite verse because life's too big for one verse. You understand what I'm saying? Life's way too big for one verse. If one verse was enough for you, God would have given you one verse. He gave you a whole Bible. All right, so we get into this thing. Context is really important. So we get into this thing. He's talking about the church or the congregation that came out of Egypt into the wilderness.
Hebrews 2:2. For if the word spoken by angels was steadfast, and every transgression and disobedience received a just recompense of reward.
Okay, so talking about, again, them coming out of Egypt and the whole thing about the law, God said that it was given by whom? The law was given by whom? What does it tell you up there? Angels, okay?
Acts 7:39. The more fathers did not obey, trusted from them, and in their hearts turned back again.
Okay, so Stephen now is bringing his message down, and he's getting ready to slam this message home, okay? And he says, to whom our fathers would not obey what? The law, okay? But thrust him from them, okay? The messenger of the covenant, the law, and in their hearts, what do you mean by in their hearts they turned back to Egypt? Huh? Okay, and remember they even picked a captain. We're going to get ready to go back to Egypt. Remember that? Okay? And so in this verse, he's telling you that you don't necessarily have to do something for it to be sin. You just have to think about it, have it in your heart. This is what you're going to do. Okay? in their hearts, they'd gone back to Egypt. They didn't actually physically go back to Egypt, but in their heart they did. Okay?
Numbers 14, 1 through 4. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried. And the people wept that night. All the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness? And wherefore hath the Lord brought us up to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? And they said one to another, Let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt.
Now, let me ask you a question. Is this the same congregation that heard God thunder off Mount Sinai? So why would they talk this way to God? Well, let me ask you another question. Do you talk like that? Okay, the congregation lifted up their voice and cried. Is lifting up your voice and crying a good thing or a bad thing? Well, again, it depends. Depends on why you're doing it. Okay? And then it says, and all the children of Israel murmured what? Why? Okay, you got to blame somebody, and they're the ones they can see, right? And the whole congregation said unto them, Moses and Aaron, Would to God that we had died in Egypt, or would to God we had died in the wilderness. The problem is, they're talking to Moses and Aaron, but they're actually speaking to God. And is God hearing? Oh, yeah. So they're going to get to die in the wilderness. This is why I tell you guys, be really careful what you say to God. And let me ask you a question. How many of you have said stupid things to God? Okay? And the other day we were talking about somebody did something stupid, and I said, man, I'm really glad God has mercy and compassion, right? Because if he didn't, I'd be in trouble. A lot of times we look at somebody else, we see what they're doing wrong, but we want God to smack them. Because you haven't really considered yourself and what would have happened, you know, if God had smacked you, it's the first time you did something, or the second time, or the third time, or the fourth time, or the fifth time. And some of you go, well, I'm a kid like Bennett. He's, you know, there's a lot of Bennetts out here. They're just adult Bennetts. Okay? Precocious. They think and they do. Okay?
Saying unto Aaron, Make us gods to go before us, for as for this Moses, which brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him.
It's hard to understand. You come out of Egypt and you watch all the plagues that happened and how God got you out of Egypt. And then you watch the Red Sea, right? You watch the manna every day, the quail, the whole 9 yards, everything God's ever done this whole time. And you come down to Mount Sinai, and Moses goes up on that mountain, and he's gone for what? 40 days and 40 nights. So Moses is up on that mountain, and they come to Aaron and they say, we want you to make us some gods because Moses has disappeared. And I think maybe they thought God smoked him, okay? Because, you know, do they know that God can smoke people? Yeah. So they thought that he was gone. And now they're saying, we need gods. So what were they actually saying? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever considered Exodus 32 and everything that went down there? What were they actually saying? Oh, we need something we can see. Now, were they leaving Jehovah behind? Were they saying, Yahweh, we don't want to serve you? No. But they said, we don't want a God we can't see. And this is going to be a problem for Israel the whole way, because eventually they're going to come to the time of Samuel, and they're going to say what? We want a king. We want someone who can go before us in the battle. We want someone who we can see. Now, when they go into battle, the Bible tells you specifically that God went before them. Okay? It will tell you that he sent his angels or he sent whatever. He went before them. But that wasn't good enough for them because they couldn't see God. They wanted somebody they could see, and they said, we want to be like all the other nations. We want to be like everybody else. None of this being separate stuff. Okay, because that whole law about what you eat and what you don't eat was all about separation. You know, there's a lot of people, well, it's really, you shouldn't eat meat. Okay, because red meat's bad for you. Okay, then you ask yourself a question. Why did God tell the priest to eat red meat then? And they came out when I was younger, cholesterol, eggs have cholesterol, don't eat eggs. Then they came out and said, well, there's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, you should eat eggs. What does the Bible say about eating eggs? It says to eat them. You shouldn't eat bread. What does the Bible say about eating bread? Okay? Now, what it does not say is eat macaroni. It does not say that. Okay? It doesn't say it. No. And so when you look at this thing, it's really important that you understand, just for your own welfare, when people start coming up with all this stuff, before you jump on a bandwagon, consider logically, just a little bit, just logically stop a minute. Okay? And say, is this really true or not? Is it bad for me to eat this, or is it bad for me to eat that? Now, if you're like Daryl and you have gout, you guys know what gout is? It's an inflammation of the joints, and it happens to people who get angry all the time. Okay? Huh?
You understand my anger because of where I live.
All right? So, what makes the gout flare up, Daryl?
Uric acid. It comes in proteins and meat, red meat mostly.
Okay.
Eat chicken, fish, and vegetables.
Okay, red meat. All right, so should Daryl not eat red meat? Okay, he can do it in moderation, but he shouldn't eat a lot of it, because if he does, he's going to be walking like this. Okay. All right? And when that flares up, you'll know, because you'll watch him how he walks. Okay? Now, I got 2 grandsons, the twins. They love seafood, but we were down at the beach, and they started eating crabs, and then they started breaking out. So we had them checked, and sure enough, they got that seafood allergy. And so should they eat seafood? No. Okay, no, they shouldn't. So there's certain people that there might be a thing, but in general, are these things? I ate a bunch of shrimp yesterday. Okay, I'm not allergic to shrimp. I'm not allergic to red meat. I'm not allergic to white meat. I'm not allergic to any kind of meat. I'm allergic to macaroni. Okay, now, when they come to this thing and they say, we want you to make us gods, and this God's been providing everything for them, right? Why does Aaron do this?
He was in fear for his life.
Was he?
He said that they were ready, but we never told them.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question. I want you to contemplate something. Remember when they fought Amalek? Who held up Moses' hands? And what happened to her? Anybody know? He just disappears. Now, Jewish tradition says that they killed him at the golden calf. Jewish tradition said that he stood up against them and they killed him. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it might well could have been. Because you have to ask yourself a question, why did Aaron do this? Why did Aaron do this? Maybe. But did Aaron know God? Did he have any idea what this God could do? Why would he do it?
He's not looking at the obedient, physical instead of God.
And the pressure of people. How many of you have been pressured by people to do something that you knew you shouldn't do? Okay, because people put a tremendous amount of pressure on you. Remember how the Jewish people came from Jerusalem and Peter quit eating with the Gentiles because of the peer pressure? Then later Paul, because of James and the rest of the preachers in Jerusalem, he went to the temple and offered a sacrifice when he knew Christ had died on the cross and sacrifices were over. Peer pressure make a lot of people do a lot of things. We haven't seen this guy for a long time, and we can only imagine what's happened to him. Because this is a God that kills people. So he's probably dead up there on the mountain. And we're not in the promised land yet, so we've got to figure out a way to get there, so we need what? We need gods. Because that's what all these other nations have. They have gods. And they follow their gods wherever they're going. We need some gods we can see. That's what they're saying.
Acts 7:41. And they made a calf in those days and offered sacrifice unto the idol and rejoiced in the works of their own hands.
And they rejoice in what? So you ask yourself a question. Do we still do that? Now the Bible makes fun of people who worship idols. You know that? It makes fun of these people. Basically calls you stupid and an idiot for worshiping an idol. Are you that kind of person? Do you turn aside quickly? Remember I told you it doesn't matter how long you've been saved. Some of the people I've heard, I've been saved 40 years, bless God. It doesn't matter how long you've been saved. How far down the road have you gotten? Okay? And Chris, you didn't get saved till you were 19. And now he's pastor of this church. You grew up in a Christian home? Yeah. Without hope and without God. And by the grace of God, he heard this. But he didn't just heard, he took it and he obeyed it. I had a few run-ins with me. Yeah. Huh? Right. But there was a journey. Okay? And so we look at this thing. Are you one of these people that turn quickly, or are you one of these people who don't turn quickly? You turn quickly out of the way. Doesn't take much to get you off the track.
When God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as is written in the prophets, O ye house of Israel, have ye offered to be slain beasts, sacrifices by the space of 40 years of the wilderness? Yea, you took up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Renatan, pictures which you made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond that.
So, what has Stephen just said in those two verses? Right.
Amos 5:25-27. Have you offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? But ye have worn the tabernacle of your Moloch and trimmed your images, the star of your God, which ye make to yourselves. Therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts.
That's who Stephen's quoting right there. He's quoting Amos. So he's telling you, Amos is telling you that Israel, when they came out of Egypt, had gods that they brought out with them. And that the entire time of their history, they have these gods all the way until God takes them into captivity using Sennacherib and others like the Assyrian kings, and finally in 721 when he takes Israel captive, and then 5. Okay, so you ask yourself a question. Nebuchadnezzar takes Judah captive. You ask yourself a question. Did they have these gods the whole time? And the answer is yes. Yes. So how many Israelites remained faithful to God and actually walked in God's way? And the answer is a very few. There's always been the remnant. There's always been a very few. The majority of them worshiped other gods. Well, the same thing as he says in Romans 1, isn't it? You don't listen to my word, you turn away from it, I'm going to give you over to what you want. You can go do what you want to your heart's desire. And how'd that work out for him?
Acts 7:44. Our fathers had the tabernacle of witness in the wilderness as he had appointed, speaking unto Moses that he should make it according to the fashion that he had seen.
Okay? So where did he get the pattern for the tabernacle? Okay? Where did the Lord get it? From the temple in heaven. That's exactly what Hebrews says. He's making it right after the same thing that he says. He gave it to David. He gave him from the temple in heaven. It was a shadow of that which is real in heaven. Now, is it important that you make it exactly the way that God said to make it? Yes. Why is it that people have such a hard time doing exactly what God said? They always want to add something to it, or they want to take something away. They don't want to just do exactly what God said to do. Why is it that we are built that way? So you that have kids, why do your kids want to always do either more or less than what you told them to do? And what do we like kids when they're rebellious? But how much worse when adults are? When they will not do what you tell them to do, but they're going to walk in their own way. And this is what God's been saying the whole time. And the New Testament tells us all these things were written what? For our example. All these things were written down so we don't do what they did. Let me ask you a question. Are Americans idolatrous people?
Exodus 26:30. And thou shalt rear up the tabernacle according to the fashion thereof, which was showed thee in the mount.
Okay, again, that statement, okay, and here it comes from Hebrews.
Hebrews 8:5. Serve unto the example of the shadow of heavenly things, as Moses adopted, admonished of God, not to make a tabernacle for see at thee, that thou, and all things according to the pattern, so shown to thee.
Okay, make it exactly the way that you were shown. Don't make it 1 cubit longer, 1 cubit less. Make it exactly the way you were shown.
Acts 7:45, which also our fathers came after, brought in with Jesus, Joshua, into the possession of the Gentiles, who God raised out before the face of our fathers, since the days of David.
Okay, so they came in, they brought the tabernacle in with them when they went into the land. Okay?
Joshua 3:14, it came to pass when the people removed from their tents to pass over Jordan, and the priest bearing the ark of the covenant before the people.
Okay, now remember in that passage it says, follow the ark of the covenant because you've not walked this way heretofore. Now, before this, how do they know where to go? The cloud. And evidently the cloud isn't there anymore. Why? Because they've reached the land now. They don't need the cloud. As soon as they cross that Jordan River, he says, so the priests, they're going to hold this Ark of the Covenant up, and you guys follow, right? Okay? Just follow. That's all you got to do.
Nehemiah 9:24, so the children went in and possessed the land, that thou subduest before them the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, and gave them into their hands with their kings and the people of the land, that they might do with them as they would.
Okay? So this entire Bible is saying that this is what God did. This entire story that starts off in the Pentateuch is being confirmed for us all the way throughout the Bible that it is a very, very important thing that happened.
Psalm 44:2. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand, and plantest them. How thou didst afflict the people and cast them out.
Psalm 78:55. He cast out the heathen also before them, and divided them in inheritance by line, and made the tribes of Israel to dwell in their tents.
Okay? So over and over again, wherever you go, keeps reminding you of what God has done in the past for his people Israel. Right? Just keeps reminding you over and over again. Okay, so he goes right over this thing. David wanted to build him a house, but God said no, and you remember that whole story. And Solomon's the one that actually built it. Okay?
1 Kings 8:17-19. And it was in the heart of David my father to build a house for the name of the Lord God of Israel. And the Lord said unto David my father, whereas it was in thy heart to build a house unto my name, thou didst well that it was in thy heart. Nevertheless, thou shalt not build a house, but thy son which shall come forth out of thy loins, he shall build a house unto my name.
Acts 7:48, howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples as the people that set apart.
First Kings 8:27. But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain thee. How much less this house that I have built?
Who's the prophet? Nope. Who is the prophet? Solomon. Okay? Now we know from other passages that David was one. Most people don't consider Solomon a prophet, but he was.
God that made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands.
So why did God want the temple built if he wasn't going to be able to dwell in it, if it couldn't contain him?
It was a place to put the ark.
So what was the ark?
The ark was his seat.
So was he seated there or is he seated in the heavens of heavens?
He was seated in heaven.
So what was the point? What? Okay.
A central place for them to come worship.
Okay, it was a central place for them to worship. Remember, in the Old Testament, worship is centralized. In the New Testament, it's decentralized. But in the Old Testament, worship is centralized, okay? So when you're looking at that, because you see like the Ethiopian eunuch, what did he do? He had to come from Sudan. Well, the Bible calls Ethiopia is actually Sudan. He came from there all the way to Jerusalem because that's still the Old Testament, right? In that time, it was New Testament actually, but he was still following the Old Testament stuff of going to Jerusalem because of the sacrifices there. Okay? So you find these people coming from, and they're always coming from wherever they're at to where the temple is, or where the tabernacle was before the temple. Okay? And the Bible's constantly telling you that God is bigger than a temple. So the temple was for the people of Israel in order for them to understand that God had designed for him to come and dwell with them. That's what the tabernacle meant before and what the temple meant later. That God was there. Okay? By the way, somebody go to the last verse of Ezekiel. What does it say?
The city shall be 18,000 cubits round about, and the name of the city from that day shall be, the Lord is there.
The name of the city shall be what? The Lord is there. Now, in the millennial kingdom, is the Lord going to be more than just in Jerusalem? But the city's name is going to be, the Lord is there.
Acts 17:24. God hath made the world and all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands.
All right, let's stop there. We'll pick up next week. Right there, okay? Somebody pray.
Good afternoon. Today is the fourth Sunday of the month. God gave me a keen sense of the obvious, so I had to announce that. Why is the fourth Sunday important? Teen outreach, yes! Good. Somebody remembered. One. I hope the rest of you are remembering too. Just a reminder. And then coming up in March, we've got spring cleaning, child dedication service, and the missions conference. Looking forward to those opportunities and trusting God to bless those times. I'm going to ask Josh if he'll lead us in prayer as we get started with our service this afternoon. Let's stand together and sing, I Stand Amazed in the Presence of Jesus the Nazarene, number 143 for the musicians. I stand amazed in the presence of Jesus the Nazarene, and wonder how he could love me, a sinner condemned unclean. My song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. For me it was in the garden, he prayed, not my will but thine. He had no tears for his own griefs, but sweat drops of blood for mine. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous, how wonderful is my Savior's love for me. He took my sins and my sorrows, he made them his very own. He bore the burden to Calvary and suffered and died alone. How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous is my Savior's love for me. When with a ransomed in glory his face I at last shall see, 'twill be my joy through the ages to sing of his love for me. How marvelous, and my song shall ever be. How marvelous is my Savior's love for me. And then over to number 173 for the musicians, Blessed Be the Name. All praise to him who reigns above in majesty supreme, who gave his Son for man to die, that he might man redeem. Blessed be the name, blessed be the name, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name, blessed be the name, blessed be the name of the Lord. His name above all names shall stand, exalted more and more, at God the Father's own right hand, where angel hosts adore. Blessed be the name, blessed be the name, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name, blessed be the name, blessed be the name
Christ the Lord, the mighty Prince of Peace, of all earth's kingdoms conqueror, whose reign shall never cease. Blessed be the name, blessed be the name, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name, blessed be the name, blessed be the name of the Lord.
Luis, come and lead us in our Spanish song.
Buenas tardes. ¿Qué me puede dar perdón? Solo de Jesús la sangre y un nuevo corazón. Solo de Jesús la sangre. Precioso es el raudal que limpia todo mal. No hay otro manantial, solo de Jesús la sangre. Fue el rescate eficaz, solo de Jesús la sangre. Trajo santidad y paz, solo de Jesús la sangre. Precioso es el raudal que limpia todo mal. No hay otro manantial, solo de Jesús la sangre. Veo para mi salud, solo de Jesús la sangre. Tiene de sanar virtud, solo de Jesús la sangre. Precioso es el raudal que limpia todo mal. No hay otro manantial, solo de Jesús la sangre. Cantaré junto a sus pies, solo de Jesús la sangre. El Cordero digno es, solo de Jesús la sangre. Precioso es el raudal que limpia todo mal. No hay otro manantial, solo de Jesús la sangre. Pueden sentarse.
I thought about using Mrs. Muir's walker to get up here, but decided I might fall and hurt myself. But I got a question. What do fish eyes, cow tongue, beef liver all have in common? These are all things that Pastor Steve will eat, but not macaroni. The teens want to know why you despise macaroni so bad. They want to know what you have done to be offending the entire world in such a large food group that you don't eat macaroni. So, anyway, you need to think of an answer for them, okay? Anyway, James. So we're going to do today. James. Where's the... Oh, there it is. I'm going to turn it on because I always forget. We talked last week a little bit about the trials and different stuff, and that's what most of chapter 1 in James is about trials and tribulations, not tribulations as much as testing and how the Lord molds you and moves you and changes you to be into the image that He wants you to be in. And as we continue, that's what He continues with in what we're going to talk about today a little bit. And if somebody wants to go ahead and keep reading the next verse that comes up. That's not... Is that James 2:5? 1:5 is what I meant. That's what I did. I think all the James verses put 2:5. I'm like, why are we doing the James 2? 1:5 is what we're after. That is my fault again, I'm sure. Did I write 2 for all of them? It's supposed to be in chapter 1. Yeah, you can fix those for me. Anywhere it says James chapter 2, it's supposed to be James chapter 1. Yeah, that's it. If any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God. He gives to all men liberally and upbraideth not, without reproach, and gives to him. So let me ask you a question. How many of you ever asked for something? You need something, what do? You ask for it. That's all you got to do. You got to ask. So when you're in these trials, what God is saying is, if any of you are lacking wisdom, if any of you don't understand what's going on, you don't know why you're going through this trial, you don't know what's happening, maybe you should ask about it. That's what he's saying. So if you lack it, if you don't know what's going on, why don't you just ask me what is happening? All right? How many of you, when you get in a trial, that's the first thing you say is, why is this happening? Or is the first thing you say, why me? My life is so miserable. I have to work 60 hours this week. Why me? I have to do all these things this week. Why me? My life is so terrible. It's just you sit and mope and whine. I mean, I've been guilty of that before. When I'm having a rough week or something bad's going on, you sit there and you're like, why am I having this happen to me? Why am I going through this? Why? I've been doing that for 15 years. No, I get the look again. But no, you say, why me? Why is this happening? But the real thing you need to do when you come into these situations is you need to say, Lord, why are you doing this? What are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to show me? What are you trying to do with me? Why are you trying to do this? So when you're struggling, you need to ask for help. When something is wrong in your life and you don't know what it is, you can't figure it out, you can't figure out what's going on, you need to ask for help. What did Jesus say? He said, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, the one who knocks will be opened. Or which one of you, when his son asks him for bread, will give him a stone, or when he asks for a fish, will give him a serpent? If you, being us, are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more shall your Father who is in heaven give good things to them that ask them? When Shiloh asks me for something, what is my usual response? No, exactly. But we go to the store, and we're walking in the store, and they say, hey, Dad, what do they always ask for? What do they put right at the registers? Kinder eggs. All the parents of small children are shaking their head, yes. All right, and Cassie's back there explaining to Josh what it is. But anyway, there are these little egg things that half of it's got like a hazelnut Nutella something inside of it, and the other half's got this little toy that you got to put together. All right, and it's kind of interesting, but they're ridiculously expensive. They're like $2 for this little egg. It's like, it's ridiculous, stupid. But every time we go, there's, Dad, can we get this? Dad, can we get this? Dad, can we get this? She's going to lie. How often do you find those wrappers at the house? All the time. Why? Because my daughter has asked me for it. She said, Dad, can you do this? Can you get this for me? Yeah, I tell her no a lot because a lot of times she needs to be told no, but then I end up doing it anyway. Anybody who's a father of a daughter knows that because they have this look. But so you knowing, you being evil, you being me being evil, know how to give the good things to my daughter. How much more when you're going through a problem, when you're going through a struggle, when you're going through some issue in your life, does God not know how to take care of the issue and tell you what's going on? Now, how many of you, if your child came to you and said, why is this happening, you wouldn't take the time to stop and explain it to them as to why the struggle is there, what's going on? And that's what it's going back to. When you have a problem, just ask for help. Now, sometimes that may mean asking the Lord, Lord, help me, and then it may mean going and talking to someone else. All right? And that's a little bit of Solomon says the same thing. So, my son, if you see my words, my treasure, my commandments with you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding, Yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. The Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. He stores up for wisdom for the upright, as a shield to those who walk in integrity. But look back at verse 4. What does it say? Yeah, the Proverbs verse. Look back at verse 4. How many of you ever lost something? Yeah, all the kids up here are raising their hand. My daughter has never lost anything. Never. All right? But when I was a kid, we had this, Dad did construction, and we had this pile of sand that Dad would back up to. He backed it up, and it was like a dump truck load of sand. With this dump truck, he came and dumped it in the backyard, and that was our play area when I was like 4 or 5 years old. We dug tunnels in it and everything else, and it was so much fun. But what we would also do is we would bury stuff in it. And I'm sure when Dad built the barn that is now there, they pulled that sand out, found all sorts of hidden treasures in that stuff. We couldn't find it. If we had to go find it, where's this at? We'd be like, well, you got to go dig it up. It's out there, and that's what boys did. All right, 3 older boys would just dig. You'd have to dig it up. All right, so we have to find these things. So if we're missing something, we have to go search for it and find it. And that's what it's talking about. When you're having an issue in your life, you can't just be like, Lord, what's my problem? What's going on? And then go on with your daily life. Everything's good. Sometimes the answers you're looking for, you have to search and seek. And that means more than just praying one prayer and being done with it. It's more than just one time saying, Lord, help me with this issue. Help me with this problem. Help me figure it out. You have to search and you have to seek for this thing, to fix it, to get back to what you need and where you need to be. You have to search and seek. How many of you ever had a problem and you know that maybe you need to go talk to Pastor Steve to get it figured out? But you don't want to talk to Pastor Steve. How many of you teens want to talk to Pastor Steve? Easton's shaking her head, yes. The big, Shiloh, you don't count. Sometimes you have to talk to other people. Well, that means they're going to know about my problems. They're going to know about what I'm struggling with. They're going to know what the test I'm going through. I don't really want to, I'm kind of private. I'm going to keep this one close to the chest. You're not really seeking and searching for knowledge. You're not really seeking and searching for a result. You're not looking for it in the way that you need to be looking for it. You're content to live the way you are. And that's not getting over your problems. That's not getting over them and moving for them. You need to ask for help. You need to ask for help. All right? Go back to the James 1, 6-8. All right, let's keep going. Let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavers is like a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed. We're going to go through 8. For let not man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Go one more, verse 9. Oh, no, it is verse 8. I'm all messed up today because of the things. The double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. And as I think about this, and I was looking at this, and I was thinking, let him ask in faith. What does it mean to have faith? What is faith? Believe in him and he'll give you the answer. What does it say there? It's the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. It's believing in something you cannot see. All right? The Bible also says in Hebrews, it says, without faith it is impossible to please him. For whoever draw near to God must believe that he exists, and that he is a reward of those who seek him. And that's where the knowledge comes from, is from God. The ability to fix these issues. And you have to have the faith whenever you're looking at it to be able to proceed and that he is going to have the right answer. Talking about faith. So, when I was a kid, up until the time I was 19, Dad always had a boat and we would go offshore fishing. We would get off and we'd go to Clearwater Beach, and we'd go out of Clearwater Beach, and we would go 35 miles offshore, 40 miles offshore in a 25-foot catamaran with 2 motors on it. 2 twin 135s. All right? Go 40 miles offshore. How many times do you think I thought, oh, we might not make it back in? Never. I never thought we're not going to make it back in. Not one time in the existence of my childhood, from the time that I was a baby all the way up until I was older. until I left for school. Still, if I go out with my dad, I still don't think about that. Why? Because I have faith in my father's skills. When we would get in, I had faith that he had filled the gas up. I had faith that he had checked the weather. I had faith that he had all of his tools there if something happened to fix it, because anytime he would get out of the truck and we would get on the boat, he would start handing tools out of his truck up into the boat. And we would be throwing it in the bottom of the boat. You open up that thing, there's a whole tray full of mechanics tools in there. So I went offshore fishing one day and I started throwing tools in the boat. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with these tools. If we get stranded, whoever comes up, if someone like Josh comes up, he can fix it. I don't know small engines, but he can fix it. I'll have tools. I don't know what I'm doing with them. But I had tools. Help, yeah. But I never had any kind of wavering or any kind of thinking, oh, we're not going to make it back in. We're not going to make it back in, because I was trusting my dad. I had faith that he was going to do it, that he was going to get us there. I had faith that his answers were the right answers when it came to that. Now, how many of you have faith that the answers you get are the right answers? The only time I ever saw my dad, I didn't even see him, I heard about it. The only time I ever heard my dad about being nervous was they went offshore, and I heard the story. They were going to spend the night offshore, and a storm blew up out of nowhere. And he said the chop comes in. When normally the seas, they roll, just kind of roll, and you're kind of going over them as you go out, and it's fine. Well, when a chop comes in, the wind is blowing from different directions, so one wave will come this way, and the next wave will come this way, and the next wave will come that way. So it's a real choppy whatever seas. And Dad was telling me the story, my brother was telling me the story about it. So they went offshore and they got out there, and the chop came up, and Dad was coming back in to get back into the bay to get out of the storm and everything else. And Ron Thomas was there. He's a friend of ours. Never been offshore before. And Ron was a little nervous. And Dad pulls this thing out. Let me see. You got a cup right here? I saw one earlier. Vicky, where's your cup? Your cup. Give me your cup, Vicky. Pulls this thing out that looks about like that with a straw-looking thing out of the top of it. All right? And he hands it to Ron. Says, whatever you do, don't lose that. And Ron looks at him like, what is that? Said, that is our salvation. Said, what? Whatever you do, don't drop that. What that little thing was, it's called an EPIRB. Jake, you know what an EPIRB is? You're shaking your head?
Yes. If it gets salt water in it, it sends out a signal so they know where to find it.
Yeah. Basically, if you're in the ocean, you push a button, or if salt water gets in it, there's a signal that pops up, and it's an emergency beacon. And guess what shows up? The Coast Guard. So why did he have such importance of handing that piece of machinery to Ron? He had faith in that thing, that if something happened, they were going to be able to be found. Now, if that's at the bottom of the ocean and they're floating around, how are they going to find it? They're not. So he said, Ron, Dad had to run the boat. He said, Ron, you hold this. Don't lose it. He had faith in that little machinery that was going to be the thing that helped them. How many of you ever ask a question of somebody? You got a problem, you got an issue. Say, I got a problem with cars, okay? And I go say, Dan, my car is doing this thing. And Dan says, well, you need to clean the carburetor out, or you need to change the spark plugs. What should I do? Change the spark plugs. Okay? I get my second opinion. I go to Josh, and I tell Josh. Josh says, you need to change your spark plugs. All right? So I go home, and I say, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change the fuel filter. Because I don't believe them. I don't believe that their word is true. I don't believe the things that they say is true. I don't believe the things that they're doing is right. When you ask God a question, and He gives you an answer, you might should believe it. When you ask for help from somebody, and they give you an answer, the reason you're asking them is so they know more than you do about it. You might should believe it and have faith in it. Story in the Bible that brings my attention. Think about this. The story is this prophet is my favorite prophet. We're not really going to get to him a lot, but it's Micaiah. Okay? And it says, for 3 years, Syria and Israel continued without war. But in the third year, Jehoshaphat, was Jehoshaphat a good king, class? Charlie? We have failed. Let's try it again. Was Jehoshaphat a good king? Y'all see what I have to deal with, right? Charlie, okay, y'all failed me. Charlie, was Jehoshaphat a good king?
He was dubbed as good.
He was dubbed as good, okay? So Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, came down to the king of Israel. Who was the redemption? Who was the king of Israel at this time? Starts with an A. Okay, Ahab. Was he a good king? No. Okay, good. Okay, we got that much. All right? Came down to the king of Israel, and the king of Israel said to his servants, do you know that Ramoth Gilead belongs to us? And we keep quiet and do not take it out of the hand of the king of Syria. And he said unto Jehoshaphat, will you go with me to battle at Ramoth Gilead? So Jehoshaphat, a good king, talking with the bad king of the north. And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, I am as you are, my people as your people. My horses as your horses. And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, inquire first for the word of the Lord. Is that good? Yes, that is the good thing to do. You need to inquire first of the Lord, okay? All right? Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said to them, shall I go to battle against Ramoth Gilead, or shall I refrain? They said, go up, for the Lord will give it to the hand of the king. Okay, this is where all the people were coming up, and they were, oh, you're going to take these horns, and you're going to kill the people of Syria with it, and all these other fake prophets that were telling the king what he wanted to hear. But Jehoshaphat said, is there not another prophet of the Lord whom we may acquire? He was getting what? A second opinion. Okay? Was he doing right? He was doing what he should do, right? Get more information, get more information, get more information. Find out. And he says, is there one here? And the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, yet there is one man by whom may inquire of the Lord, Micaiah the son of Imlah, whatever. But I hate him, for he never prophesies good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, let not the king say so. All right? What did Micaiah prophesy? Ahab was going to die in the battle. First he comes out and goes, oh yeah, you're going to live forever, king, go. And he's like, no, tell me the truth. And he says, the Lord liveth, you're going to die in battle today. All right? So I say all that to say, what did Jehoshaphat end up doing? Jehoshaphat sought counsel of the Lord, sought and asked and asked and asked. What did Jehoshaphat do? He got this word that was from the Lord. And he knew it was from the Lord because it says you're going to go to prison. And Micaiah says, if you come back from battle, I'm not really a prophet of God. What did Jehoshaphat do? Who knows? What did he do, Shiloh?
He walked him up and said, I'm not going to put you on until I come from the safety.
That's what I just said. What did Jehoshaphat do? He went to battle anyway. Jehoshaphat sought an answer, got his answer, and then did what? Didn't do what he was supposed to do. So if you're in a trial and you're in a problem and you've got things that are going on in your life, like James is saying, you're having these things to mold you into the image that you need to be. What are you doing when you get those answers? Are you listening to them and allowing them to change you? Or are you just saying, I'm going to do what I want to do anyway? I'm going to stay here in this trial. I'm going to stay here in these problems. I'm going to stay here and continue doing all these things. That is the definition of a double-minded man who says one thing about what they want to do, but they do the exact opposite. They seek knowledge. They seek for it. They ask the Lord for help. They ask Him to show them a way, and they do the exact opposite of it. It's like a kid when they ask you, Dad, should I do this? No. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. One parent told me one time, he said, maybe we should tell them to do the wrong thing so they'll do the right thing. Because they just want to go against the authority. They want to go against what they're supposed to do. And that's the problem. Double-minded man is like a wave of the ocean tossed with the wind. Talking about the boats earlier. What kind of boats were they in back in James's day? Did they have big Mercury engines on the back of it? Pastor Chris sent me a video the other day, and he just pushed a button and his engine on his boat cranked up. Compared to my engine that he used to use, that he would spend 30 minutes pulling a string and it still wouldn't crank. Did they have those kind of engines back then? What happens when you stop dead in the water and a storm blows up? Blows that boat all over the place, and you end up flipping a lot of times. Pastor Steve, we went out and we slept on a boat one night. Me and you went off fishing. We're about 3 miles offshore. And we went to sleep, and we woke up the next morning. We had drifted a full mile. And that was a calm day. Think about how bad it is when the water's turbulent and the storm's going on. And that's what he says a double-minded man is like. Driven by the wind and tossed. Thrown every which way because they are so unstable. Because they don't want to listen to truth. They don't want to listen to what they know they need to do. And that's why they're in the trials, to try and change them, but they want to fight against it. They want to fight against it. All right? Well, look at there. Somehow or another I got some verses right. Let the lowly brother boast in his exaltation, and the rich in his humiliation. Like the flower of the grass, he will pass away. For the sun rises in the scorching heat and withers the grass as the flower falls, and as beauty perishes. So also the rich man will fade away in the midst of his pursuits. So also shall the rich man fade away in the midst of his pursuits. So the lowly brother boasts in his exaltation. What I was looking at there is it's saying the difference of a person that's lowly and small in their own eyes. They see these trials and it changes them, and they move and they get exalted. But on the flip side, someone who is rich gets to the point where they think they don't really need the Lord as much. They don't really need His guidance. They don't really need it because they have arrived at what they think they have. They think they're good. They've arrived there. Think about a person in the Bible that did this. Saul, when Samuel came and says, am I not a Benjamite from the least of the tribes of Israel? My clan, the humblest of all the clans of the tribes? So this was Saul when he was first chosen to be king. He thought he was a little guy, and there's nothing really special about me. But as he gained in power, what happened at the end? Samuel said to Saul, stop, I will tell you what the Lord said to me. He said, speak. Samuel said, though you were little in your own eyes, are you not the head of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel. It says, when you were nothing, the Lord put you here. The Lord sent you on a mission and said, go devote destruction to the sinners of the Amalekites and fight against them till they are consumed. He gave you a task. He said, go do this. Why then do you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why do you pounce on the spoil and do as it was evil in the sight of the Lord? And Saul said to Samuel, I obeyed the voice of the Lord. I've gone on the mission which the Lord sent me. I've brought Agag, the king of the Amalekites. What was he told to do? Destroy them all. I have devoted the Amalekites to destruction, but I saved the king. But the people took of the spoil and the sheep and the oxen, the best thing devoted to destruction, to sacrifice to the Lord in Gilgal. Is that what you're told to do? No. And Samuel said, as the Lord has great delight in burnt offering and sacrifice and obeying in the voice of the Lord. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, to listen to the fat of the rams. For rebellion is the sin of divination, or witchcraft, and presumption is as iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, He has also rejected you from being king. He started all that out. The destruction of Saul, basically saying you're no longer going to be king. He started that out and says, when you were little, when you were humble, before you got so big and so proud and so strong, the Lord made you king. Time and time again throughout the Bible, you see people, Uzziah, another one we've been talking about, another king. He did great, and it says whenever he got old and got so powerful, he thought he was so great. What did he do, class? We just talked about it this morning. He offered incense on the altar because he thought he could do it. So in his pride, he did this because he thought he was so great. Humility is what we need to have. That is what these trials do. That's what these problems do. These things happen to us in our life so that we can be brought low, so we don't think we are too big for our britches. Oh, you kids don't know that word. Big for your britches. Oh, Hannah does. Your dad tell you that all the time? Or does he tell your sister that? She's getting too big for her britches. That's Grandpa that tells you you're too big for your britches. I believe that. All right? So basically what it's saying is when you get so big, you think you're so great, the Lord is going to humble you. The Lord is going to humble you and bring you back to a level of where you can see that you are doing wrong and you need to be brought low so that you can get back and fix the problems. Fix the things and to get back in the right state so the Lord can mold you and make you into what it is. That's the purpose of these trials and problems. It's the purpose of it. Talking about riches, this is what Solomon had to say about it. Ecclesiastes says, "Behold, what I have seen to be good and fitting is to eat and drink and find enjoyment in all the toil which toils under the sun, few days of his life that God has given him. For this is his lot." Saying what you need to do is you just need to find something you enjoy and do it. Everyone also whom God has given wealth and possession and power to enjoy them and to accept his lot and rejoice in his toil, this is the gift of God. Who will not remember much of the days of his life because God keeps him occupied with joy in his heart. So what is he doing? He's seeking things in the world, seeking riches, seeking great gains, seeking all this other stuff. There is an evil that I've seen in the sun that lies heavy on mankind. A man whom God gives wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing, all that he desires, yet God does not give him power to enjoy them, but a stranger enjoys them. This is vanity and a grievous evil. What's he saying there? People work all their lives to get great and get strong and be wonderful. And then what happens? They get all that stuff, and they're either too old to enjoy it, and their bodies won't let them, or they die. Charlie, you can't answer this. Who knows who Sam Walton is? Any of you kids know who Sam Walton is? Luis, you can't answer either. How many of you adults know who Sam Walton is? A few of you. Sam Walton was the guy that started Sam's Club and Walmart. Look at all I'm laughing at. Oh, really? Really? Yeah. Sam Walton. How much money does Walmart and Sam's Club bring in per year? A lot of money. A lot of money. I mean, it's just an astronomical amount of money. Does Sam Walton enjoy those things? Why doesn't he enjoy them? Because he's dead. You're going to work all your life. You're going to work all your life to get all these great things and to be rich or to have all these things that you want in your life. Be content with where God has put you and what God has given you. Be content with it. Because in the end, all those trials are going to come along. You've fought all your life to figure out what you needed and what you wanted, and your kids are going to enjoy it. So Shiloh, take this as a lesson. I will leave you nothing. But no, seriously. The trials come in your life. You get great, you get awesome, you become a great person, you become great and mighty and have all this money. But what good does it do you? The Lord doesn't humble you and bring you back to a point to where you can serve Him. Doesn't bring you back to a point to where you think you are not better than everybody else. The more money you have, the less you care about God a lot of times. How many of the richest men in the world are in church? Where does Bill Gates go to church? Anybody know? Does Elon Musk, does he go to church anywhere? I don't know. All these people are worried about money. They're not worried about the Lord. I'll tell you right now, we're never going to be rich. We may get money, but we're never going to be those stupid, dumb, wealthy, rich people. We need to find enjoyment in what we have, because whenever we get to that point where we think we've made it, we think we're better, that's when the Lord's going to say, all right, you know what? Let's bring you back down a notch and show you what you need to be. Preacher, will you close in a word of prayer, please?
Father, thank you again for the good lessons we've heard today. Thank you for the spiritual works in our hearts to make us remember to obey and to trust you with all of our hearts. Thank you for the kind of preachers that we've had in this church. We thank you, Father, for the blessings that you bestowed upon us. We thank you for the joy of just being able to worship together. And Lord, we look for that day when you take us home to be with yourself. Riches down here only allure our eyes and make us want things that we really don't need.
what we need is to follow you and trust you with all of our hearts. May we this day